I'm Trish Toby with WARC reporting to you live from Westchester, New York, where there appears to be some sort of mutant menace on the loose.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Mutant Menace, a podcast about the X-Men. I'm Matt Aucamp.
And I'm Pat Reber.
We did it correctly. Like, fully correctly that time.
We did it this time. mutantmenacepod@gmail.com. Please congratulate us.
Next time, we'll have to do it correctly and then not congratulate ourselves. And then we have reached it. We have reached podcast perfection.
Yeah. Listeners, you can always congratulate us on doing something right.
Just whenever you want. Speaking of emails, I think we got one, Pat.
We did. We got exactly one email from our poll in, what was that, episode 7?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you want to read it? Do you want to read it? You'll be our email reader. This is new to this podcast. We haven't really gotten emails yet. Please, if you can, if you want to, reach out to us. Write us emails at mutantmenacepod@gmail.com. But Pat will be our email reader.
Yeah. Pat's email corner. We'll make it a whole segment.
Well, but it's for both. Oh, no, okay. Address it. You guys can address it to Pat, but you can address me in it.
I'll read they can be for both of us. But yeah, generally, I'm going to read the emails. Okay.
Hey Pat, start emails with, hey Pat, tell Matt. And then the content of your email.
Okay, in episode 7, we asked the listeners, what you thought would be a more romantic term, however you say to make 69 in French, or in English, the game of 69. With one vote from Michael, we're going with game of 69.
Game of 69. Now we know it.
Yeah.
I did not know that you replied to Michael and said thank you so much. We have an email here that says Game of 69 is better. That's all that's in the email. And then response, thank you so much, Michael.
It was, Michael, you are our first listener email. So we did also get an email just today, a correction for episode 5 from Christy. This is very exciting. In episode 5, we did share a bit of misinformation. Matt stated that he was 37 years old. Matt, you are not 37. You are in fact 38 and about a month from turning 39. Thank you, Christy, for we both say things that we don't necessarily verify. So if we ever misstate the truth, please let us know.
Yeah, I forgot to pull up the wiki on that one. So I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry that I offhandedly said 37. You're right, I'm 38, and I am about to turn 39. And look, I'm only human. And you can write corrections in about that if you feel like that's not correct either.
Yeah. Hey, if you would like to be featured on Pat's email corner, once again... It's mutantmenacepod@gmail.com. Email us about anything.
It'll make our intro, like this one, it'll make our normally unhinged intros even more unhinged if you write emails. Because this has obviously done something to our brains.
We have to include it.
Pat, have you done anything X-Men related this week?
Have I done anything X-Men related?
Yeah, that was the question I asked
this week. I did, in fact.
Okay. Wow.
Matt, I bought your 39th birthday present.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah, I won't tell you what it is, but it is X-Men related.
I mean, I actually probably could have guessed that ahead of time. When we were doing our Pokemon podcast, you mostly bought me Pokemon related gifts.
Yeah, also true.
So I can't wait. I'm very excited. I didn't even know you remembered my birthday. Holy jeez.
Well, we'll see if I remember it when the date comes.
Yeah, true. You just saw something and you're like, when's Matt's birthday? 8 months from now? I'll just keep it in a closet.
What about you, Matt? Did you do anything X-Men related this week?
Not much. I played... Okay, so I got a Retroid Pocket 4 Pro.
What? Is that a calculator?
It is a handheld emulator.
Matt, this is not your video game podcast.
Oh, wait, I can see Pat
I can see my own reflection. Hi.
So it emulates all the way up to like PlayStation 2 and GameCube. I think it can even do Wii. And I played X-Men Legends.
Oh.
Not all the way through. Just the beginning, just a little bit. I forgot I'd played that game a long time ago, and I forgot how long the intro is. Like the first intro, the very beginning is kind of cool. You play as Wolverine, and you're running around a city that the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants is attacking, and you're just fighting the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. And
This sounds sick.
Cyclops joins you at some point. The Blob is a boss fight. It's great. You save MAGMAR.
Oh.
So,
You know what? I was thinking of MAGMAR, the Pokemon.
you don't encounter him in this game.
Okay. It's the ugliest Pokemon. You heard it here on Mutant Menace the X-Men podcast. MAGMAR is the ugliest Pokemon.
And if anyone wants to make a shirt of that or something, feel free. You can also, speaking of my other podcast, you can make shirts Matt for Pope. Again, feel free. I need to spread that campaign a little bit because I mean it'll be a dozen years or so before that's relevant again. But we're just gonna keep. So then you get to the mansion, and it's like an hour and a half of just wandering around the mansion, telling you about different rooms. And there's some cool stuff in the bit. Like you could take X-Men trivia at some point. You could do some danger room scenarios. But like I kind of can't figure out how to get out of the mansion and play the game again.
Why would you want to? Sounds like a little RPG.
It is a little RPG, and I will eventually get back to it, but I got distracted and started playing other things.
Are there any points where it asks where like Professor X is like, please, I need a fresh battery for my computer, and you go over to Hank and he's like, I can give you this battery, but I sure am hungry, and you have to find a way to find him food in the mansion.
Just a fetch quest throughout the entire X mansion. That would be more fun than just going from room to room and Jean Grey saying like, this is where we hang out and watch TV. This is Wolverine's room. He's a bit of a loose cannon. This is Cyclops' room. He's pretty uptight.
Let's get those sound clips on the podcast.
So that's all I did X-Men related. Pat, you know what else I did X-Men related?
Did you read a bunch of X-Men comics?
I read issues 48 through 53.
Wow. Which one do you want to start with, Matt?
I think let's start at it'd be wild if we went backwards or picked randomly.
Right. You're right. Let's start at issue 48.
Do you want to read it or me?
You take it. Take it away.
Issue 48. Beware computer. Oh my god.
Take a breath.
I can't stress how organic that was. I don't. All right. Issue 48. Beware Computo, commander of the robot hive. Okay, I hope that was clear enough because I'm not going to say it again. Released on July 16th, 1968. Edited by Stan Lee. Scripted by Arnold Drake. Penciled by Don Heck and Werner Roth. With lettering by I. Watanabe and inks by John Verpoorten. I had to do it out of order because like they use cute little euphemisms here, and I couldn't figure out what pen pal was until after I said letter.
Sure. Now, before you get too into it, Matt, what does Don Heck and Werner Roth mean? Are they taking turns?
In at least one of these other issues, Don Heck does layouts and Werner Roth does the pencils. So I'm thinking maybe it's that, or maybe like Don Heck started drawing this issue and Werner Roth took over.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Okay.
You can very much tell that a lot of this is drawn by Werner Roth, but there's some weird character designs that can only be Don Heck, right?
Here's what I like to imagine. Don Heck is left-handed. Werner Roth is right-handed. And they're holding non-dominant hands while they use their dominant hands to draw both sides of the comic at once.
Yeah, how do they decide? Like when they meet in the middle, how do they decide?
Would decide what?
Like who gets what line?
They're probably drawing at the exact same speed.
So they just meet in the middle. Like if Cyclops' face is in the middle, they'll meet in the middle of the line of his glasses.
Right where the page breaks.
And the pencils will kiss, and they will look at each other and go,
maybe.
Like, I'm not saying they kiss each other.
I don't know, Don Heck.
They could kiss each other. I'm just saying they make the noise.
Oh.
Which you would
like
do.
They're pretending the pencils kiss.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's very funny. Very funny, Don Heck and Werner Roth.
While we've paused here, let's talk about Arnold Drake for a second.
Yeah.
Arnold Drake is the new writer of the X-Men, and he'll be for this entire episode, actually. He was a writer for National Comics, which was like the pre-DC DC. DC wasn't called DC until 1977. Before that, they were called National Comics. And I think there were some other, like, what am I thinking? Charlton.
I think they went by Brand Eck for a little bit.
I'm unsure of this timeline, but I know there were a couple different imprints that merged to become DC, but they might have all merged long before 1977.
Yeah, sure.
And some of them might have merged after, but I know Charlton was one of them, and I know National was one of them. Anyway, Arnold Drake created Doom Patrol for National Comics. He did it in 1963. From the editorial team wanted Arnold Drake to design a team that felt kind of like Marvel, like Fantastic Four, or I guess that was pretty much it at the time, like the Fantastic Four. That were quirky and had like dynamic interactions with each other as people on the page, and also had emotional depth. So he created a group of superpowered weirdo misfits led by a wealthy genius in a wheelchair with the tagline, "The world's strangest heroes who fought a team of villains called the Brotherhood of Evil."
I know these guys.
Yeah, Doom Patrol. So then in September of 1963, 3 months later, there was a group, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created a group of superpowered weirdo misfits led by a wealthy genius in a wheelchair, and the tagline was "The strangest heroes of them all," and they fought a team of villains called the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. So Arnold Drake was very pissed about that, but it never went anywhere. The brass at National were convinced it was just a coincidence. Yeah, exactly. They were convinced it was parallel thought, and so they just didn't do anything about it. And then eventually it was Arnold Drake's work on Doom Patrol that got him the job writing the X-Men.
There's a really funny story that I heard in a documentary about the history of DC. So at this point, in 1963, Marvel started becoming a lot more popular. This is when they started releasing some of their big heroes, and it's when DC was kind of struggling with Batman and Superman were their flagships. They had been there for so long that their stories were already getting stale, and they needed a fresh take, which they eventually got.
Right.
Marvel was creating new heroes. They were focusing on writing over art or dialogue over art. So it was getting a lot of attention. And DC's answer to that was basically I guess bad art is what sells comics now, trying to take shots at Ditko and Jack Kirby and stuff.
Yeah.
And then by 1967, Marvel was eating National Comics' lunch. They just absolutely were overtaking the comics industry. And it's wild to see that Arnold Drake by 1967 was like, why don't I just write the X-Men?
He just switched sides.
Yeah.
Not super long before Roy Thomas would switch sides to DC, right? Roy Thomas switches to DC in 3 or 4 years after this?
Yeah, and Kirby too. I guess like 5 to 10 years after this. I forget exactly what that is.
Yeah, I can't really remember the timeline, but yeah.
Wild stuff.
Interesting. There's a book called Slugfest that is all about
Slugs.
this. Yeah, it's about a carnival they hold in Montana every year. No, it's about the battle between Marvel and DC throughout this entire time period, and the ways they would trade writers and barbs back and forth, and artists and all that. I don't know. There's something fun about that. But all right, let's get into the actual issue.
Yeah,
I don't care about this shit, Pat.
Let's see what this Arnold Drake has to say.
Now that the X-Men are broken up, everybody's been split apart, with Iceman and Beast in California?
What?
Angel, wherever the fuck, and Cyclops and Marvel Girl in New York. And because it's Marvel, and Jean Grey is a female character, she has become a professional model doing a swimsuit photo shoot. Just like every female character in Marvel at some point, and especially at this era, also was a part-time model.
The model. It's a reason to live in New York. It's also a reason to draw women in bathing suits.
Her photographer starts hitting on her just as Scott Summers shows up. He threatens to fight the dude and grabs him by the tie before being pulled away by some bikini babes. And then Jean gets mad, and it's all toxic heterosexuality all around. Though, moments later, we find out that Jean and Scott are just putting on an act for their undercover gig.
What?
I don't know. Scott has somehow, I guess, gotten his broadcaster's license and a journalism degree, because he's a radio reporter now, despite also having no personality.
He's not even doing it live. He's pre-recording his sessions.
News broadcast.
His breaking news broadcast.
Yeah. Meanwhile, some sleeping robots are woken up by a Reviva ray and then put on Z alert by a big robot named Computo.
Go on.
And the 3 robots are sent out to steal some radio equipment. They just so happen to burst in on Scott's new radio station, so he and Jean rush off to get into uniform, while an employee tries to crash a big semi-truck into one of the robots. We find out the robots are called Cybertrons, and each have unique powers, like thermal hands, or earthquake power, or ultrasonic blasts, and one guy can suck in a bunch of air really hard and turn into a big blimp.
Just like Kirby.
Cyclops blows up the blimp guy, and the Soundwave guy starts getting away. Marvel Girl tracks the, quote, psychic emanations from the sound guy's, quote, robot brain, leading them to Computo's lair hidden under Apex Sand and Gravel Co. Inc. Ask a quick. They track the robots underground, where Computo is feeding Sound Guy into the automatic canceller for his failure. Automatic canceller? What? The Joe Rogan podcast? Zing.
Do you think...
Yes.
You think we're the Joe Rogan podcast for the left?
That's what they say about us. That's the thing. If there was a Joe Rogan podcast for the left, it would have to be about some nerd shit like X-Men.
Yeah. Yeah. The perfect opportunity. Ben Shapiro, I challenge you to a debate.
About the X-Men. The robots detect Cyclops and Jean and issue another Z alert. And a big fight breaks out. They are getting absolutely mobbed by robots when Scott realizes he can end it by taking out Computo, which he does with a big optic blast. Inside Computo, was an old Fantastic Four villain called Quasimodo, which means quasi-motivational destruct organ.
Was that real, or is that Stan Lee trying to be cute?
No, that is what it had
really
said in Stan and Jack's original Fantastic Four, where Quasimodo was created by the Mad Thinker.
Okay. So both Frankenstein and Quasimodo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame are real.
It wasn't one quote. It's a huge reveal, Pat. It wasn't one robot computer man. It was a different one. It wasn't Computo. It was Quasimodo.
This wasn't an android. This was a cyborg.
Quasimodo escapes and then floods the chamber with water, so Jean levitates the two out of there, and Scott collapses the tunnel behind them to stop the water. The end. That's the whole issue. Is that the first instance we have of Jean levitating?
I think so. I know when they were falling out of the plane, she was instrumental in helping them slow their fall.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is the first time she's actually had upward motion that I know about, or that I can remember at least.
Yeah, it's not like she then just starts flying, like she doesn't. So I don't know. I guess it's a learning process. Telekinesis is a learning process. First, you have to learn that it's not called teleportation. Right. Then you have to learn to do like something completely different, like doing telepathy. Then you learn to levitate.
Pretty good.
So how do you feel about this issue?
This was wild. We have a frog-looking robot with Kirby powers. We have a pink robot with giant thermal hands, and we have he looks like the what's the robot from Lost in Space? Danger Will Robinson robot.
I can't.
Okay, well, picture kids and. He's got supersonic powers. He's supersonic. He's got supersonic energy. He's shooting blasts of sound at people.
So we got Sonic, Kirby, and Hot Hands.
Who's got hot hands?
I don't know.
Metroid.
I love how. Okay, so they're okay. First observation about Arnold Drake is that he writes Cyclops like Cyclops does have like a hip, neurotypical personality. It's a very strange Cyclops. It'll be a strange Cyclops this whole series. Because rather than him just calling everybody Mister and only talking about mission stuff and choking up in any other scenario, he's like making quips throughout this whole thing.
Yeah,
and
he's cool. He has an incredibly cold line when he sees that photographer hitting on Jean.
Yeah.
The photographer says, like, let's say we cozy up to some dinner, and Scott walks in and says, let's say pistols at dawn.
and then Ash Ketchum Summers grabs him by the like immediately goes in for the punch. Yeah, it's like I'm just gonna start swinging. And again, I did not realize this about Scott Summers, and it's different in different versions of Scott Summers are different about this. But Arnold Drake's Scott Summers is a punch first. Like he's like a cowboy. He's like
he does it over and over again.
Throughout this whole next 6 issues. Yeah, absolutely.
You know what's not a cold as hell line, Matt?
What's that?
The trucker saying, holy Hannah.
How did the trucker learn it? If in your like
I know.
You've been pandemic tracking Holy Hannah. And now I want to know what your explanation is. How did the trucker learn it?
So I'm guessing
Scott said it on air.
They're in New York. He's a blue collar guy. Last time they said it to, New York's a pretty small town. So I imagine this trucker probably knows one of the cops or military men that were saying it a couple issues back.
I got you. All right.
It's making its way around. Bobby Drake
started as an FBI thing, like a top secret FBI thing.
Oh, right. That was way back in the 60s.
And then by now it has moved into like a working class thing.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's finally made its rounds all the way. So I guess it was Fred Duncan that
he's patient zero. Yeah. Or the weird boy he keeps with him.
His strange assistant of the month.
Yeah. So, I love that. Okay, so while Scott doesn't feel like Scott, there is something about Jean here that feels a little more like Jean than she's ever felt before.
Yeah.
I think like she's being a little more outspoken. She's making jokes. She's a little more emotionally thoughtful. She's a little more pop culture aware. Like what's that?
It's the cover she has to take. It's the identity of a hip, cool person, a supermodel in New York City.
So you're saying before this moment, she's a human being with no personality. Then she pretends to be a supermodel in New York City, and that gives her personality, and that's just who she is from now on.
Well, I think so. I think you're mistaking no personality for somebody who is just extremely dedicated to refining their craft. Like,
okay,
she has just been working on being a good X-Man this entire time, and now what being a good X-Man requires is heavily researching what a cool New York City supermodel would do, and say, and so now that's what she's picked up.
That's fair, but would you agree that this is a lot more like Jean's personality moving forward? Like in the Claremont years, Jean is a lot more like this person.
Yes, yeah,
than
absolutely.
Like she was under Roy Thomas or whatever.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying I think there's a canon reason for it.
So one of the things she says when she gets to... They're back to taking shots at youth culture, because when they get to the radio station, she's looking through records. And she's like, oh, it's my favorite, the new band, the chocolate-covered ash can.
Oh, yeah. What?
I don't think that's a real thing.
I'm sure it's not a real thing, but also it's not a fake thing.
It's not good enough to be an insult.
Yeah, it's so far removed from what they're trying to make fun of that it's just a non sequitur now.
This was a weird issue, man.
I know. The robots hiding. Robots hiding was the first thing that tipped me off. This is going to be really strange. They're in the back of another truck, not the truck that shows up to deliver the radio equipment, but another truck that they can pop out of to steal the radio equipment.
Right.
And it's just a little frog head. It's the frog robot, and he's peeking out. And
frog blimp robot is so weird.
It's such a strange concept. And then Scott just blasts him. I'm glad Scott's using his I-beams directly on humanoids again, but the frogman is all inflated and floating from sucking in a bunch of air, and Scott pops him like a balloon with his I-beams. It's gruesome.
It's great. The robots also call each other brother, which is great. She's like, oh, you've killed my brother. You've killed my brother, Cybertron. And your name is also Cybertron, right? I'm Cybertron. This is my brother, Cybertron. Don't kill him. Oh, no, you did. I'll get you for that.
This is my brother, Cybertron, and my other brother, Cybertron.
All right. You know, our listeners will love a Bob Newhart reference.
Yeah. This is, I feel like, our key audience.
Also, why are Hank and Bobby are in California? Weren't they just in Greenwich Village last issue?
Yeah, why do you send... Okay, I was upset about this too.
Okay.
Why do you send Jean and Scott, who have no natural attachment to New York City, to be your New York City branch, and then you send
two New
Hank,
York boys,
born and raised in Queens, and Bobby, who lives in Manhattan, to California, to the other side of the country? Do you think the FBI paid for their relocation?
They must have, because otherwise we would have seen 4 issues of them going around trying to raise money.
That's true. Yeah.
I also love
hitchhiking their... Oh my god, a 4-issue miniseries where a young Bobby Drake and pre-fur Hank McCoy hitchhike across the country.
I think it's also hilarious that they're like, all right, the X-Men need to split up. FBI's orders. We need you guys to split up to cover the whole country. So we'll do, all right, I Boy and Girl, you get New York. Big Guy and Ice Boy, you get California. And Wingsman, you just take the rest of it.
Yeah. Fly around.
Just take everywhere else.
Take care of whatever you see up there.
All right, Pat, do you want to tell us about issue 49?
Issue 49, Who Dares Defy the Demi-Men? Release date August 3rd, 1968. Cover date is October 1968. Ecstatically presented by Stan Lee, excitingly written by Arnold Drake, exuberantly designed by Don Heck, extraordinarily drawn by Werner Roth, exquisitely inked by John Tartaglione, and execrably lettered by Herb Cooper. The issue starts with the splash page as Angel is breaking into the abandoned X-Mansion and reminiscing about the old days when he hears a noise coming from Cerebro. It's registering the largest movement of mutants recorded to date. He thinks really loud so Jean can pick him up with her newfound telepathy, and she conference calls in the rest of the X-Men. Turns out Beast and Iceman are skydiving in California and fuck up in midair, which distracts Beast, causes the psychic connection to disconnect, and then he hits the ground too hard. Meanwhile, the new mutant Mesmero, who can control people's minds, is using a psyche generator built by Magneto to enhance his powers and awaken a bunch of latent mutants across the world. He's bringing them together to form an army to fulfill the dream of his lost master, Magneto. One of those latent mutants, Lorna Dane.
Latent mutant.
Latent mutant Lorna Dane starts to walk into San Francisco traffic in a daze, but slips on a patch of ice at the last second out of the way of a speeding car. Turns out that ice was created by Bobby Drake, Iceman, who wastes no time in bringing the woman back to his apartment. When he gets there, he's chewed out by Hank McCoy, who is upset because Bobby forgot that the X-Men are about to arrive in a borrowed Avengers Quinjet. The X-Men arrive and start scouring the area for whatever set off Cerebro, while Beast stays home to work on a portable mini Cerebro and watch over the sleeping Lorna Dane. Soon enough, the X-Men find a small battalion of Mesmero's mutant soldiers in their weird outfits and beat the hell out of them. But Angel is shot in the process. I should point out that these mutant soldiers they're just carrying guns.
Yeah, we'll talk about them.
But despite being shot, Angel is fine, so no worries. They head back to
a big deal out of it,
and then he's
like, "Oh my god, Angel's been hit!" And then exactly, they do this. Arnold Drake does this in about every issue, and always with Angel. Angel, oh my god, he's almost dead, and then somebody's like, "Oh, he doesn't look. I've seen him look worse after a game of basketball."
He gets we'll get to it, but he gets his head thrown through a wall. Everybody heads back to Hank and Bobby's to find that Lorna Dane has awakened and showered, which washed out her hair dye, revealing that her hair is naturally bright green. Hank now knows she's a mutant because of that, but keeps it a secret.
He doesn't know it because of that. He knows it because his mini Cerebro has shown him.
Oh,
so that's what he's supposed to keep a secret, which is of absolutely no consequence because they find out she's a mutant like tomorrow.
Yeah, the narrator is even like, Hank, I don't think you can keep this a secret. The X-Men with the new mini Cerebro take off to find the mutant army, leaving Iceman behind to look after Lorna, who wonders where Bobby Drake went. No sooner do the X-Men leave than Mesmero and his mutant henchmen show up. They paralyze Bobby, and just as Lorna thinks they're going to kidnap her, they fall to their knees to worship her.
What?
To be continued.
Whoa! Yo, this issue has a Jim Steranko cover.
Ooh.
We're about to talk about Jim Steranko, maybe as we wrap up this issue before we start the next one. We'll talk about who Jim Steranko is. But it's a Jim Steranko cover, Werner Roth pencils, we're eating good on this issue, Pat.
Yes, a feast of art.
Yes, a feast of art, especially if you eat your comics like Pat does.
Yeah, they're so expensive.
You spent so much money on those, and you won't
I know.
let me touch them, but you eat them.
Yeah, I don't want you getting your grubby paws all over them before I put them in my mouth. Do you think the FBI... I'm really stuck on this FBI deal.
Yeah.
Do you think they forced them to abandon Xavier's mansion?
It's too dangerous.
They never had trouble getting to New York from Westchester.
Yeah. It's too dangerous, Pat. It's too dangerous for them to be at Xavier's mansion.
It's a shame. It's just a big empty mansion. Somebody went through and covered everything in sheets, which was nice.
Could you imagine what would happen if they'd stayed at Xavier's mansion? Like a man might have conjured a giant mutant army and tried to take over the world. It's ridiculous. The FBI deal is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense, and this is the end of the X-Men being split apart too. They've already abandoned the premise already.
Yeah. It was supposed to be like a way to test out if they could. Well, I guess this is my own theory, but it should be a way to test out if they can survive this solo stuff or if they can survive as solo heroes. But after a few issues, maybe it's just clear that no, they can't. People aren't buying the Angel comic book.
It's strange, yeah, because they were going to do like a Iceman Beast issue, then a Marvel Girl Cyclops issue, then an Angel issue. And this almost starts out as an Angel issue. Like it starts out and you think it's going to be an Angel issue.
Yeah.
And it's
he's got quite the soliloquy, huh?
He just kind of goes and goes. Yeah. I don't think it's that bad. I think, I do think some parts of it are bad, but I think in the overarching way that the last issue started to show who Jean Grey was going to become. I think this is also the manifestation of this latent Angel personality trait that comes out here and there when he's not being like turned into an evil thing or something.
Right. Yeah.
He's always kind of yearning for the good old days. And this comes up a lot in the Claremont years. But he starts it here where he's like, oh man, when I was young and fancy free and everything was great. And now I gotta be a fucking adult.
You're 19 years old.
I know.
Just graduated high school.
Yeah, I think we need to read some of this because Pat, I do not know what Arnold Drake is doing.
This is insane. Like he is falling asleep while he's writing, maybe?
Yeah, it is. When people make that joke, like, I think I had a stroke because words are just out of order, or like this, that's how it feels reading this. So the first like page and a half is okay. And it's really poetic. And it's about Angel saying just like, oh man, this house is so full of memories. If I only could make this house live and breathe and become like the house of my youth again. And then Cerebro starts going off with the ticka 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 noise, which it's never had before. So do you want to start? We'll go word balloon for word balloon.
Yeah, sure. So it starts with him just getting a little too deep into the metaphor of the dead memories here. He says, hold it, that noise, some kind of a machine and not a ghost machine. But we shut down everything.
And the professor's top secret equipment is all under lock and key here, yet
there's not that noise. And it's for real. Gotta find it.
You kind of want to put a question mark there. And it's for real. There's not that noise. Okay. Sheesh, I feel like Nancy Drew in the Mad Laboratory at Happy Valley.
Ah, there's the little doll. And now I understand how it started ticking again.
What? Like, what is he talking about? What are you talking about?
I can only imagine that he is writing two comics at once. Maybe taking turns on each word, and he got them out of sync.
It's very strange. And this is not the only time that Arnold Drake will do this, where there's just several word balloons in a row where you're like, I don't understand what you're saying.
He just loses his mind for a few pages, and all the editors are like, this guy might be nuts.
Let him. Just let him. Don't. If you ask, it gets worse. Oh my God. So, okay. Leaving that aside.
Yeah.
We also got the first. Okay, we got a bunch of cool firsts here, right? So, debut of Mesmero, debut of Lorna Dane, who will eventually become Polaris.
Do you always just want to say Lorna Dune, like the
like
the
a
biscuit?
little, yeah, a little bit,
Okay.
a little bit. Lorna
Not
Dane,
just-
yeah. We have the first psychic quote conference call,
which becomes a huge tool for the X-Men.
Yeah,
moving forward.
But other than that, I mean, I don't have that much else to say about this issue. It just kind of moves like after that weird stroke panel. Yeah, how did you feel about this issue?
Honestly, I liked it.
Yeah.
When it wasn't nonsense, it was exciting. The art is really stepping it up here a little bit.
In some, like, yes, the art is Werner Roth doing great, right?
Yeah.
These
Baby angel
designs,
Werner Roth.
These designs are insane, right? Like, okay, so Mesmero has built up a mutant army, and rather than with every other mutant, them using their powers to distinguish themselves as individuals, these are just guys in nearly identical, like, robot-looking outfits, covered in baubles.
Yeah.
Like, they
carrying guns. They're all.
Yeah.
There's no mutant power for them to use. They just have guns.
I have a feeling it's once again like another writer who's kind of like, I don't know what mutants is. Because for the next couple issues, people say things like, I'm going to use my amazing mutant strength to
oh my God,
the power of being a mutant to defeat you. Like this weird, like there's this energy that emanates from mutants that they can manipulate in certain ways.
I've got theories on all of this, Matt.
Okay. What do you... These little mutant... Their heads look like little buttons sticking out from their necks.
Yeah, they are wearing armor. I think the armor goes up above like their jawline.
Right.
And then the helmet's popping out from that.
Yeah, the helmet's popping out like a little Diglett.
Yeah, much like a Diglett.
And there's three, when we're introduced to them, there's three all arranged like a Doug trio. And even this Mesmero is like, it's such a weird outfit. Like he will always have a weird outfit, but in his initial appearance, he's just like covered in circles.
Yeah. And there's a thing that they just couldn't stop doing in the 50s and 60s where they were just giving large, powerful villains a skirt. Like a mini skirt that just drapes over metal underwear.
Yeah.
And it is all over this run.
Also, the X-Men just cream these mutants. It's so... none of these mutants use powers against them.
Yeah.
I think in all these issues, there's only one moment where one of the mutants, quote unquote, uses powers. And that moment rules. But only happens once, and on like the last issue they appear, and the rest of the time they're just henchmen with guns.
Here's my theory on this. Most of them are like the shitty kind of mutant, right? They can grow their hair on command or shoot 32 teeth out of their mouth across their lifetime. But they're very excited about mutants ruling over humans.
Yeah.
So this guy just has a disorganized army of shitty mutants. And he's like, all right, rethinking this plan. Let's get them some armor and some guns, maybe a little bit of training, and maybe they can take out the X-Men.
So these are like the Morlocks, sort of, here.
Yeah. Early Morlocks.
Early Morlocks. And also an inauspicious beginning to Lorna Dane, right?
Yeah. Although the twist at the end is so... Like, they build this mystery up really well.
Mm-hmm.
Following the entire issue, this is just, I mean, if you know the name Lorna Dane, then you might have picked something up here, but this is just a lady that they slowly reveal more and more detail about all the way through the story. You have no idea that she's going to be some key part of this plan until they fall on their knees and start worshiping her.
Oh, yeah, and there's a lot that's being like rolled out slowly here. I like this plot because we all think Magneto's dead, right?
Sure.
Mesmero mentions how he's not there to enjoy this, right? So what we are at least given to believe at this moment is this is a cult of like Magneto's dead, we must carry on his dream, which is kind of like a cool idea.
Yeah.
Like the idea of a Magneto cult will be used over and over and over again, but this would be like the first one. And also, I don't know, it's cool. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
This is a cool issue.
Lays a foundation for a recurring theme.
So before we get into issue 50, I do want to talk about Jim Steranko.
Matt, you're always stopping me from going on to the next issue.
So, because Jim Steranko then becomes the artist for X-Men for the next 2 issues.
Yeah.
If you don't know who Jim Steranko is, he's a comic book legend. He's known for his groundbreaking work on Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was known for like these big medium bending concepts about like panel layout and design. He would do this psychedelic kind of artwork. He would do like mixed media. He would bring like pop art into his designs. And he was also, here's some other interesting facts about Jim Steranko. Number 1, he was a stage magician and escape artist.
What? Like a Harry Houdini?
Yes. Number 2, he's from Reading, PA.
Oh my
about
God.
45 minutes west of me. 3, he was a designer on Raiders of the Lost Ark.
What?
And it's very funny to look at. If you look up like Jim Steranko, Raiders of the Lost Ark, you can see a lot of concept art or promotional art or whatever. And it's so clear that maybe this is a fact you don't know. It's so clear that the original Indiana Jones was supposed to be Burt Reynolds, which is true. But like in every drawing, he looks like Burt Reynolds, not like Harrison Ford.
That is, what a world that would have been.
I know. Sliding doors, man. This is also one of the very few comics that Jim Steranko drew but didn't write. And he designed the iconic X-Men logo, that leaning 3D logo that they will use
he did
forever and use in the X-Men cartoon. The one everybody knows. Everyone knows that logo. Ask anyone.
I mean, it debuts in this very next issue, does it not?
What next issue, Pat?
I would say issue 50, City of Mutants. Release date September 10th, 1968. Cover date November 1968. Editor Stan Lee, writer Arnold Drake, artist Jim Steranko, inker John Tartaglione, letterer Herb Cooper. Though last issue ended with Mesmero and crew saying they wouldn't kidnap Lorna Dane, this issue begins with Lorna Dane being kidnapped and taken to the City of Mutants along with Iceman. Mesmero hooks Lorna up to some kind of machine, and then we cut to the X-Men attacking a building.
Ooh.
Inside the building are more mutant soldiers who the X-Men are handily beating when Marvel Girl gets a psychic distress signal from Iceman, letting her know that he and Lorna have been taken captive. So, Marvel Girl telepathically tells the X-Men to throw the fight and get themselves caught. So they do. Very, very Professor X move.
Yeah, totally.
In the mutant city, Iceman is strapped down and forced to watch as Lorna Dane's mutant power is released by a weird machine. Once complete, Mesmero announces that she is actually the daughter of Magneto and now Queen of the Mutants. Marvel Girl, having arrived with the rest of the X-Men as prisoners, breaks Iceman free, and they all prepare to kick ass when Lorna unleashes her new magnetic powers upon Mesmero's mutant army and then passes out. The X-Men charge at Mesmero when suddenly the ground rises up and blocks their path, and out of the shadows steps Magneto.
No! This issue was rad, man. This was a rad issue. This issue kicked so much ass. The cover is rad. The artwork is rad. Like, from the very beginning, the kidnapping of Lorna Dane is, like, they do it from her perspective as she's, like, coming in and out. So she sees...
Yeah.
Like, people's faces hovering above her, and then she sees, like, a coffin closing.
I'm sorry, you're absolutely right. But
yeah,
the kidnappers are trying to remove an unconscious Lorna and Bobby from Bobby's apartment and walk them out to the street and I guess into their kidnapping vans without being noticed.
Okay.
They have to deal with two unconscious bodies. They don't want to see anybody. They don't want anybody to see them carrying unconscious bodies out of the building. What is the best thing they can think of to store these bodies in?
Oh, you put them in big coffins.
Big coffins. And then you pretend you were preparing them for a funeral at your apartment. Incredible.
Yeah, they're just mutants, Pat. They're just mutant henchmen. They don't know what they're doing. There's a lot more of Scott just not being Scott in this issue, which is
he's got so many fucking lines.
Yeah, which is, more of this. He's quipping around. He's like he's very possessed of a personality. How did you feel about this issue overall? Were you into it like I am?
Yes, yeah, I'm very into it. I think there's so many weird, silly mistakes, but overall, I love this issue. I think that, like, we are in the second of this 4-issue arc where they're dealing with Lorna and everything surrounding her. We are getting fun action where I'm still legitimately surprised by the turns this is taking. And at the same time, the art is really rad. It is next level. I thought Werner Roth was at the peak of drawing X-Men, and then I saw Jim Steranko just putting them into action.
They're so dynamic. Their powers feel so big.
He also takes some fun chances with perspective. Like, he's not necessarily going for realism. He's exaggerating some things, and it's getting really... It just emphasizes the scope of battle in a small panel really well.
The moment where, and I actually kind of want to go in order through this as we talk about like our observations because it's just so good. But yeah, but to go out of order for a second, the moment where Lorna Dane realizes her mutant powers is completely abstract, but also incredible, and gives you this exact feeling of, like, without actually really showing it, what her powers are.
Yeah. In fact, she, I don't think, says 3 words over the next 2 issues. Everybody keeps just shouting over her, and they just show her thinking a lot.
So when the X-Men burst into this mansion to fight Mesmero's whatever goons, Cyclops yells, "All right, X-Men, attack! There are beings in there that feast on the human soul itself. Show no mercy." What is he talking about?
He's really on one.
They feast on human souls? Did you again, was Arnold Drake writing another comic and forgot what he was writing?
I think so. Yeah, he says that as he's leading a charge into the building, as if this is his inspirational speech to rally the X-Men over the hill.
And like nobody stops and it's like, wait, what? They do what?
Yeah.
I thought they
Well-
just like had guns and maybe powers.
They deal with Bobby Drake all day, so they're kind of used to just tuning out dumbass comments.
And so when somebody says the absolute wildest thing, they've just tuned it out when this is the time they should have honed in and been like, wait, Cyclops, are you okay?
Yeah, are you all right, dude?
Do you know what's going on right now? Should we sit down?
Everybody in their heads instead is just going like, shut up, Bobby.
It's almost a pleasure dusting this demon's skull with a pack of knuckles, then see if my caress brings pleasure as well. What? Cyclops, what is going on with you?
He has a moment of clarity where Mesmero says to the gang, you're all as good as dead. And Bobby says, in a pig's eye we are, Mesmero. We're going to shove that hypnotic power right down your own throat. And
That's very Iceman. Yeah.
That is very Iceman. But Scott says, Bobby, relax, dude. You're right. But that's a bit over the line.
It's like, because Bobby wasn't the one around to hear all this wild shit Cyclops has been saying.
Yeah, that's right.
I wonder if, like, maybe between the panels, Jean finally kissed him. And now he's just feeling himself. He's just like,
let go of all that tension.
It's like, oh, this is who I was the whole time. It's like, then maybe we never did. Maybe we shouldn't have liked you.
There's another spate of absolute nonsense Arnold Drake lines when they get to the city of mutants.
From the floor of the desert itself, the strange magically rises, fortress of fiendishness and memorial to malevolence. What unspeakable acts await committing in this self-contained earthly hell? Is there any way you can put that together? From the floor of the desert itself, the strange magically rises. Okay, fine. All right. Oh, it's fortress of fiendishness and memorial to malevolence. Like the fact that he didn't put an article in there and also did put the word and throws you off a little bit, but maybe that still makes a little bit of sense, right?
Sure. Yeah, I think we're...
What unspeakable acts await committing in this self-contained earthly hell?
What unspeakable acts?
So the unspeakable acts already exist. They await you committing them.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't do them into... Okay. So technically, this sentence makes sense.
Yeah.
But you couldn't possibly read it legibly with a human brain.
Right. It's proper syntax, but he might be on drugs.
You'd think Stan would have chimed in here and been like, what the fuck? Like, one of his weird editor's notes, just like, what the fuck is this dumbass talking about?
Smiling Stan. Stan Lee might be afraid of
Arnold Drake
because he is very suddenly lightened up on his editor's notes.
The only editor's note he puts, I think, in Arnold Drake's whole run is that Quasimodo is a quasi-motivational death organ.
He probably had to fight for that one, too. I wouldn't let that in my comic book.
The layouts here are fantastic. STERANKO does these full page, like when Lorna Dane comes out of the machine, she's taking up the full page and everybody else is kind of in the background.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like peculiar perspective, and he's starting to just play around with the way that panels lay out on the page.
Yeah, the X-Men charging Mesmero, and even that, right? Like, he does a full page spread. First of all, he does a 2-page spread when they get to the City of Mutants, and he writes City of Mutants in the mountain behind them. Mm-hmm. And then later, the full page spread is when they charge Mesmero. So you, the reader, are thinking, oh, this is the big moment. And then your guard is completely lowered for the next page where it's not a splash page. Magneto's alive.
Yes. So here's where I got confused in that moment. And this is probably more because I'm stupid than it's confusing in the magazine. But I thought Mesmero ripped a mask off and was like, actually, I've been Magneto this whole time. And then when Mesmero reappears halfway through the next issue, I was just like, what?
Interesting. Yeah. So Magneto rips up the ground between Mesmero and everybody and the X-Men. And then there's a series of the X-Men saying, there's only one person who could do this. And what is that walking out of the shadows? And then there's Magneto in the shadows. And so he could have been walking out from behind that metal shrapnel. This issue just whips ass, dude. This is so good. And I'm going to roll into the next issue unless you have something else.
Wait.
Yeah.
One very funny moment that I cannot skip over. Jean telepathically says, hey, Scott, Hank, the only way for us to move forward is to throw this fight so that we get kidnapped and thrown in prison with Bobby and Lorna. Very X-Men plan. Scott and Hank are like, okay, we'll throw this fight, but we have to make it like these guys are too easy. We have to make it look like we're legitimately losing the fight, or else they'll realize that it's all a ruse. Right, Warren? And Warren's going, guys! He's getting beat down by two of these mutant soldiers. He's helpless.
That's so funny.
Although, another credit to, Arnold Drake or Jim Steranko, they find creative new ways for Angel to be really bad at being a superhero. Instead of just nets and ropes, it's like they're holding him
and metal cables.
Exactly, yeah. They're finding new things to wrap him in that invalidate his wings.
All right. Issue 51 comes next after issue 50, if you could believe it. It's called The Devil Had a Daughter.
The title reveal here might have been the best one yet. It's like almost like Schoolhouse Rock style, but serious, like it's carved into stone. And then there is Magneto, very small to show you how big and impactful the title is. Silhouette of Magneto and Lorna.
Yeah, like his shadow is cast upon.
He's in a very powerful stance.
It's really good. So, Devil Had a Daughter, release date October 10th, 1968, edited by Stan Lee, written by Arnold Drake, art by Jim Steranko, and in the credits they say, "Do we have to tell you?" I don't know that people followed creators that closely so that they would know, but who knows?
Well,
like back then.
It's good for Steranko for having needs no introduction.
Like legend shit. Amazing cover, amazing splash page, like unbelievable. Man. Just an unbelievable start to this issue. Inks by John Tartaglione, lettered by Sam Rosen. He's back. So, this issue opens with Magneto and Iceman arguing for the fate of Lorna Dane. It's a fucking amazing scene. Magneto argues that joining him is her birthright and will bring her the power to rule over all mankind. And Iceman argues that Magneto's a killer. And like, he even thinks to himself, like, I don't want to tell a girl that her father is evil, but I have to.
Yeah.
And so he's like, Magneto's a killer, and this path to power is forged in misery and blood. The other X-Men start holding Iceman back as he is like trying to get in Magneto's face. He's like about to punch him, and Iceman won't relent. So Cyclops stops him and asks him, like, hey, before you do this, is there any way we can change your mind? And Iceman's like, no. And Cyclops is like, all right, that's good enough for me. And then punches the fuck out of Magneto. Just knocks him right in the fucking face. Magneto goes down like a rock. And then from the ground is like, Mesmero, get these guys. As if he's still in charge after fucking Cyclops cucks him so hard. It's such an incredible scene. Like, before we move on, Pat, we have to talk about this scene.
Oh, it's so fucking cool. It's a page turn reveal too, where Scott is like, okay, Bobby, is this really what we're doing? And Bobby's like, yeah, let's do it. And then you see Scott wind up and start to throw a punch. You turn the page and he is knocking him the fuck over.
Yeah, you don't know, he might be trying to knock out Iceman because they can't get him under control. And there's this argument it's this battle of wills, right? Like the first page is just Magneto monologuing about why
Yeah.
Lorna must join him. And then the bottom is Iceman steps out, the youngest X-Man steps out in front of the rest and just starts yelling at him. And then the next page is like Magneto standing there with his arms folded while everybody's trying to hold Iceman back. And it's Angel who is on the side like, hey, I know how this guy feels. I want to beat the fuck out of Magneto too.
Yeah, well, of course he is.
And then this moment where Cyclops is like, this is the wrong thing to do. But is there no way we can change your mind? And because Iceman's like a fucking brother to him, and they're a team, he's like, hey, if I can't convince you to do the right thing, I'm still on your side. And then turns around and punches Magneto just totally out. And then there's a silent panel of Lorna Dane like covering her ears and just like stressed out by the moment.
God. There's so many these silent reaction panels that they're throwing in are so powerful. And just even in any panel, the emotion on their faces is like really powerful throughout this whole fight. But occasionally throughout the issue, they just throw to one person reacting. And it's like, it's a dagger to the heart. It's crazy.
Yeah, this is the best the X-Men have been up to this point.
And they don't give Lorna lines here. A lot of people talk about her and like talk at her, but anytime you think she's going to talk, somebody else starts talking instead. But they give her a frame to react, and you can see just the conflict there. Like, you still know that she is very conflicted about all this.
Unlike what they do to other female characters, where it's just kind of like they remove their identity. They just make them invisible. That's not what's happening with Lorna here. She's not talking, but her presence is the most important one in the room.
Yeah, yeah. Still probably powered by sexism that she's not talking.
Yeah. So, okay. Iceman grabs Lorna to get her away from Magneto, and in the process freezes the entire mutant army to the floor. It's probably maybe the biggest display of power we've ever seen from Iceman to this point.
Why didn't he do it right away? I'm just kidding. Yeah, go on.
Beast and Angel start punching the immobilized soldiers and dodging projectiles. Then a small group of them of the mutant, henchmen put a metal helmet on Cyclops to stop his blast, like everybody does. But
he's just running around with a bucket on his head.
Like a minute later, he shatters it with a powerful optic beam just before its contracting neck rings strangle him. Magneto then sends a shower of bolts and rivets and metal scrap at the X-Men, and Jean deflects it from her and Beast, but Angel takes another hit.
So bad at this. Jean was like, everybody get behind my telekinetic shield, and Angel's like, no, I'm gonna fly. Ow!
And it's again one of those moments where it's like, oh, Angel's really fucked up, and then somebody, that I think is where somebody's like, I've seen him hurt worse on playing soccer or whatever. These displays of their powers are so amazing. Because in the next moment, Magneto and Scott just like go toe to toe, like face to face, and Cyclops out loud is like, "Oh, is that all you got, you big sissy?" And then in his head, he's like, "This guy is so fucking powerful."
Yeah,
this guy is not only doing this like holding me off, he's also fighting Marvel Girl at the same time. This sucks. Lorna pleads for Magneto to stop, but he doubles down and he punches through Marvel Girl's force field with his shrapnel, and he summons more mutant soldiers. Cyclops punches one, trying to escape based on Warren's suggestion. Warren's like, let's get out of here. We can't win this.
Yeah.
And this is the only time that one of these mutant soldiers has a mutant power, and it also rules. Cyclops punches him, and the mutant's power is like it turns any energy directed on it back twofold. So basically Cyclops gets hit with his own punch times 2.
And that man can punch.
Yeah, he's got a lot of practice. He punches all the time.
Wild that they just gave that guy a gun. Nobody's
Yeah,
gonna get close to you.
this guy could have beaten the X-Men by himself. Magneto wraps a bunch of metal cables around Angel and begins squeezing the life out of him when Cyclops halts the fight by collapsing the roof with an optic blast. Lorna shocks everybody by saving Magneto from the falling debris. The team bursts through a wall and escapes in a conveniently placed rocket ship. For once, the X-Men are fleeing rather than Magneto. Back home in San Francisco, Bobby and Scott get into a vicious argument, paralleling the one from the beginning. Scott tells Bobby he can't come on the next mission because he's too emotionally invested in Lorna. First, he tries soft pedaling it. He's like, hey, you're a little worn out from that last fight.
Hit pretty hard.
And Iceman's like, dude, what? What are you talking about? And you're lying to me. And Cyclops is like, yeah, I am lying. You're too close to Lorna. It's a liability. And Bobby tries to fight him. Jean talks sense into Scott, but Bobby calls him a baby and tells him he's going to be crying. He's like, oh, what are you just going to do? Cry? And then storms out of the apartment, slams the door. And Scott tells everyone to let him go. Hopefully Bobby will cool off by the time his plan is complete. Scott has a plan.
That calling him a baby has to be cutting to Scott, right? He's got to be like, I am a man. I am the leader of the X-Men.
Yeah, exactly. There's this moment where he's walking out and he's like, I get it. All right, our noble leader's lost his cool. Fine, I'm getting out of here before you bust out in big wet tears.
Devastating.
Cut to the city of mutants where a super powerful mutant registers on the R-scope.
The horoscope?
It says R-scope. A man in big weird armor is blasting lasers or something from his fingers and challenging their leader, the leader of the city of mutants, Magneto, to a fight, calling himself Eric the Red. To be continued.
Oh.
Also, I accidentally wrote Magento instead of Magneto.
They take a rocket ship to San Francisco?
We don't know where the city of the mutants is.
That's fair. Maybe it's in space.
This is good. At some point, Cyclops says Magneto's on his rat list.
Yeah, he's a rat. He's got a rat list.
He's got a rat list. Who's on his rat list?
Just imagine Cyclops every night sitting down and being like, list of rats.
It's like
Magneto.
On a bad day, he's like, after today, he's like, Iceman. And then tomorrow night, he crosses it out. And he's like, no.
It was Warren a couple months back.
Yeah, exactly.
Diamonds, probably.
Jacko Diamonds is number 2 on the rat list because number 1 is Magneto.
Right. Number 3 is his optometrist.
Number 4 is now Fred Duncan for making them break up.
But he thinks his name is Amos Duncan. The Scott and Bobby fight is also a pretty incredible back and forth. Like it has the same emotional weight to it. We talked, maybe it was just last episode, about how like Professor X's death doesn't quite have the punch that you would think it does. And like they're trying, clearly it's a sad scene, but you don't really feel you feel it here. Your heart drops when Bobby and Scott are fighting with each other over a pretty reasonable thing. Like it's not like there's one clear right side.
Absolutely. And you also get the sense that this is what's happening to the team without Xavier.
Yeah.
As his influence is gone and now the team is having trouble holding itself together. Because, I mean, even in this, Iceman challenges Scott's leadership. Like, big leader man telling everyone what to do. And Cyclops is like, I never told any of you guys to treat me differently because I'm a leader. Basically, like, you're following me. You guys have chosen to follow me up till this point. Which is such a good, again, more socially aware than maybe we should give, like Cyclops should be. But it's this really good point. It's like, somebody else appointed me leader, and I've been calling the shots, and you guys have been following the shots. I never told you had to.
This combination of Drake and STERANKO is just incredible. Like, what was the the dialogue and the emotion and just the like the cinematic angles they're taking here, it really it makes you feel it. It's I know we use this word a lot, but it's visceral. Like you can it's palpable. How's that? Here's a new one.
No, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I feel like he is he's taking the Stan Lee idea of, heroes who have these big personalities that sort of come out in these moments of disagreement or whatever. This is like the Fantastic Four formula or whatever. And Arnold Drake is not only turning that up to 10, he is also giving it reason to exist. Like you believe this conflict. It's not, you don't feel like this is just coming out of nowhere. You get the sense that we've already seen how worked up Bobby is about this whole Lorna Dane thing. And we just saw Cyclops show this incredible display of loyalty towards Iceman. So we also know what the stakes are here, like how close they are.
Yeah.
Only to be ripped apart by this one instance. And they both have and it's not like, it doesn't feel like melodramatic, right? Like they both have clear and strong perspectives that do not agree with each other.
Yeah, and the stakes are high.
There is no resolution here. Yeah.
The stakes are high, so it makes sense that like Bobby would walk out over this, or that Scott would put his foot down on this issue, even though Bobby's threatening to walk out. I wonder if
it doesn't feel like a ginned up conflict that like happens in the Fantastic Four, or like when Beast left the X-Men or whatever. Yeah. Right? Where it's just like
spoilers.
No, way back. Iceman also has a really gross line in this issue because Lorna does not know that Iceman is Bobby Drake, and at some point he when he grabs her, when he picks her up, he apologizes for being covered in ice, but he's like, I need this icy protection against a warm hunk of girl like you. Ew, dude. Ew. Yeah. Don't say that.
Also, hunk of girl is such a weird way to refer to a woman.
Don't say that ever. Stop it. Okay. Anyway.
Before we move on, one last point. I just thought it was weird. Mm-hmm. Magneto inverts his helmet colors. Like it's usually red with purple trim. This is purple with red trim. And the rest of his costume's the same.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Maybe it signifies his rebirth.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, let's find out. Maybe he explains it in issue 52, Twilight of the Mutants.
A whole year's worth of issues.
Release date, November 12th, 1968. Cover date, January 1969. The recipe for this delectable dish. There's like a
read these.
A chicken joke on the splash page where the credits appear. So the recipe for this delectable dish: take one well-seasoned editor, Stan Lee, and one half-baked writer, Arnold Drake. Sprinkle liberally with art by Don Heck and Werner Roth. Stir in a generous amount of inking by John Tartaglione. Cover the whole mess with lettering by Sam Rosen.
I hate that.
We pick up from last issue. Eric the Red is being taken captive by Mesmero's mutant guys, but he breaks free and blows up something and traps Mesmero, I guess. Either way, he makes his way to Lorna, who is torn between her loyalty to her father and the revelation that he's evil. Eric the Red, however, tells her that he's not there to kill Magneto, but instead to join him. Magneto being injured, he puts Eric the Red in charge of the City of the Mutants. He immediately casts doubt on Mesmero's loyalty and sends Mesmero and his troops out to scout, leaving only Eric, Magneto, and Lorna back at the base. Meanwhile, Marvel Girl receives a psychic message from Cyclops to begin Operation Twilight. So she, Hank, and Warren break into the mutant city. They find themselves running quickly headfirst into Eric the Red, who reveals himself to be Cyclops.
No way, dude!
Get out!
What?
Turns out their plan is to run copper wire under the ground and electrocute all the evil mutants when they come back inside. This is Operation Twilight.
Kevin-McAllister-ass plan.
Instead, though, The first person who comes running into the building is Iceman, and they zap him anyway. Then the power source for the copper wiring explodes, and Mesmero comes running in with all his guys. The X-Boys fight the army while Marvel Girl goes head-to-head with Mesmero himself. There is
cool moment.
A sick psychic battle between the two of them, taking up a panel with, like, meet the psychedelics and stuff.
Yeah. Like patterns exploding behind them. It rules.
Iceman somehow regains himself enough to find Lorna and tell her the truth that he'd gone to her hometown, found out who her real parents were.
Really creepy.
And gotten them to sign affidavits about it.
Very creepy.
Lorna gets pissed and zaps all the mutants. Magneto pulls a Magneto and disappears, leaving his chambers booby-trapped with explosives. The X-Men pull an X-Men and escape just in time. Back safe at home, Bobby recovers while Lorna makes sex puns at him. The end.
Yeah. Real Magneto-ass move to escape as he's losing a fight, to escape and rig the room with explosives, and real X-Men-ass move to get out of there before it explodes. Like every confrontation with Magneto ends this way. Okay. It sucks to not have STERANKO here. You can tell they're kind of trying to keep up the same level of energy, and they kind of don't. But
yeah,
it is always nice to see Werner Roth. There's some real good Werner Roth stuff. There's some real Werner Roth, like, classic pop comics. You know, Lorna Dane has some cool, like, pose as she's using her power. And then there's, like you said, that fight between Mesmero and Jean Grey. They're also, Marvel Girl is, again, just cool poses, right? Like, that's one of the things that Werner Roth is so good at, is cool poses, cool faces.
It's not as dynamic. It's not as, you don't feel it quite as much, but it feels like classic X-Men art.
Yeah, it's silly in places.
Classic good. So, Scott designed that outfit himself, huh?
I bet they had to tell him to turn it down, to tone it down a little bit.
This is quickly becoming my favorite segment. Can you describe Eric the Red's outfit to me?
Okay, all right. Okay, he's wearing, imagine Captain Britain's helmet, but fully red, and with horns on it, and little bumps. Little bumps around. And then he's got like a pauldron, like a neck piece into a pauldron that goes over
pauldron?
Like a shoulder armor.
Okay, yeah.
And that goes into pauldrons. Okay, then he's wearing like an armband. So his arms are naked, but he's got an armband on one arm, and he's got like Iron Man style gloves.
Sure.
He's got 2 red belts crossed over his chest. And then he's got this like skin tight metal thing. It's like underwear.
It's like, I would describe it as Spanx.
It's Spanx. Yeah, it looks like Spanx, but it rises up
right up under the breast.
Rises up to cover his nipples. It seems like Cyclops designed this, and they were like, dude, you can't have your nipples out. And he's like, fine, I'll raise it up. Or maybe this piece wasn't in there at all, and they were like, dude, you can't have your dick and balls and everything out. And he's like, fine.
I'll be naked and with a helmet. No one will know.
Yeah, and then big boots that go over his knees.
Oh, Matt, please describe his pants.
But they're just skin tight little...
They're filled with holes. They're skin-tight Swiss cheese pants.
Oh, you're calling these pants? These are his leggings.
Okay.
These are like his big boots, his big boot leggings that go over his... And they're covered into holes for some reason.
Maybe
it's just like...
mid-thigh high boots.
Scott wanted to show as much of himself as the Comics Code Authority would let him. He was inspired by Juggernaut. He's like, I want people to see as much Scott as they can.
It is, if you are disguising yourself, an incredible choice.
I hate Eric the Red. Eric the Red is a guy, is a character who appears.
No, he's a real historical figure, Matt.
Okay, that Eric the Red, I don't know much about. He's fine.
He's kind of a dick.
But I fucking hate, like, I've always hated Eric the Red. He's always somebody else disguised, and
this happens more than once.
Yes.
Is Scott the first?
Scott is the first Eric the Red. We will eventually see another Eric. Yeah, how many Eric the Reds are there?
And they're just biting Scott's thing.
Looks like there is, based just this, I'm just looking at the wiki here. Okay, these are all other Earths. So there's a real Eric the Red, and then there are two different people who disguise themselves as Eric the Red. Stupid. It's I don't, every time it pops up in the comics, it sucks. I hate it every time. But whatever.
He's hot.
Whatever. The rest of this
time, he's hot. A lot of strange interpretations of powers in this one.
Yeah, like it's more to that, like, Magneto can kind of do anything stuff.
Yeah,
and
he has in the last issue, Magneto had telepathically controlled grenade mines.
Yeah, in this issue, he reads Lorna's thoughts.
Right. Lorna herself feels evil vibrations.
Yeah, and Mesmero blows up the. Mesmero's got mind control powers, but he blows up that energy source with raw mutant energy.
And then he attacks them he punches them in the head with raw mutant energy too. I have a theory on this. Okay. Raw mutant energy. Jean returns his raw mutant energy with the blade edge of her thought waves. What? Professor X had mental bolts. Are all these psychics just doing the same thing, which is like psychic brain stab, and they all just came up with their own name for it?
Yeah. Well, I sometimes I feel like psychic stuff has to be interpreted through your imagination, right? So, like, later Psylocke will have psychic knives, and
sure,
you know, Professor X loves his mental bolts, and I don't know. I'm sure there's other things like this, but
they've already got a fun interpretation of a psychic battle between in the same issue.
Yeah, yeah.
But also at the end, Jean reads the mental vibrations that remain in the room after Magneto left, which is what tells her that that there truly is a bomb. It's not a ruse by Magneto.
Yeah,
that's what she says. She could also be reading the thoughts of the tape recorder that Magneto is playing to explain that a bomb is about to go off.
Yeah, because she can read robot thoughts. We found out last.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think this issue is like a bit of a disappointment. There's some cool stuff. The name of the issue is cool. Twilight of the Mutants. Because like you read that and you're like, oh, is that somebody loses here, but we still don't know who.
No, it's just because it was called Operation Twilight, which I think is Scott feeling a bit freer now that the professor is gone, right? The professor there was Plan F for flank or Plan K for kick or whatever. And now he gets to name the missions and he's like, this one's Operation Twilight.
There's a gag in this issue that I want to talk. This isn't about the X-Men at all. This is just a thing that I've never understood from this era.
Okay.
So Angel flies past some guy, some like a bunch of cars. He flies past a bridge, and somebody in one of the cars is like, did you see that, Mildred? A guy flying under the bridge with wings. And Mildred's like, Herman, how many times have I told you not to drink before driving? Problematic in other ways, but also, like, did alcohol used to make people hallucinate in the early 1900s?
Yeah, they were all drinking absinthe, I think.
Oh, okay. I don't even think that makes people hallucinate. I think
No,
that's
it
a myth
doesn't
too.
do
Yeah, I don't know. That was such a thing in like the first half of the 20th century in TV and movies and comics and everything. Is like alcohol making people hiccup and hallucinate, and I don't think it does either of those things ever.
Like the drunk that sees something crazy in a cartoon and throws his bottle away.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas that's where pink elephants come from, right? The idea that drunk people just see pink elephants.
Did alcohol used to make people hallucinate?
What if Google just said yes?
Yeah, I mean, Google did just say yes. Yes,
Uh-oh.
I mean, like the Google AI bullshit said alcohol
According to the movie
hallucinosis.
Dumbo.
But the National Institute of Health, there is a article in 1916. There is a condition known as alcohol hallucinosis. See, I don't know that I actually kind of want to read this scientific paper because I wouldn't believe that from a medical paper in 1916 when they were trying to get prohibition to happen, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Matt's doing his own research.
But I'm gonna read. I after we're done, I am gonna read this paper from what is this? India Psychiatry Journal, 2012.
It was made in 2012, or that's just like
this study,
a file.
This study was in 2012, so
Weird.
I am going to read it.
Okay.
After we're done.
One last note on this one: Warren is at it again. So back to the bomb in the room, right?
Yeah.
The X-Men are in there. Magneto's playing a recording that says, "This room will self-destruct. You better get out of here." And some of the X-Men are like, "This could be a trap. Magneto just wants to buy time so he can actually get away." And Jean says, "No, I can read the mental vibrations in the room. There's actually a bomb here." They then discuss the potential where Jean fully understands that if she's correct, she's saving everybody's lives. If she's incorrect, they're letting Magneto get away.
Yeah.
Warren makes a point after that to say, if you're right, marvelous miss, you're saving our skins. But if you're wrong, we're running straight into Magneto's trap. This just happened, Warren.
We just talked about this. This isn't your idea.
All right. Let me take a deep breath.
Yeah, I mean this issue was a real disappointment, right? It does not finish off this saga in the way that it deserved.
Yeah. Everybody gets away. We just kind of reset.
Yeah. Why don't we move up? Why don't we
let's calm down.
Let's take a nice cool shower with issue 53, The Rage of Blastaar, released on December 12th, 1968, edited by Stan Lee, written by Arnold Drake, art by Barry Smith. Now, this is Barry Windsor-Smith. Barry Windsor-Smith, you might know, is a really good artist. This is not that Barry Windsor-Smith.
No,
this
it is not.
Is a horrible Jack Kirby imitation. He'll get good later when he's drawing Conan, but Conan. When he's drawing Late Night with Conan O'Brien. When he's drawing Conan, he gets better, but and he'll come back and he'll write some of the most, or he'll draw and write actually some of the most classic X-Men stuff ever in the 80s. But at this point, he sucks.
Yeah, he's not there right now. And it really is, you say, I saw that note that he's sort of a Jack Kirby imitator. He's no Jack Kirby. He's trying his best.
Yeah. His that stuff in space with Blastaar is pretty good. And the rest of it is absolute garbage. Like, just really bad. I don't know how he kept getting work, but he did. He drew a lot for Marvel at this time, apparently. All right, anyway.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Fantastic Four villain. This will be a long one, everybody, so settle in. I'm being sarcastic. Fantastic Four villain Blastaar is flying around space, yelling at rocks about how mad he is that he's not allowed to destroy the Earth. Back at the X-Mansion, Jean is playing with some old Professor X gadget that can convert a person into radio waves and send them into space. The machine explodes, and Blastaar appears inside of it. Beast tries to fight him, but gets blasted. Blastaar immediately. Angel rushes in and gets his ass handed to him by Blastaar. Cyclops uses his beams to fly and then blasts Blastaar.
Yes, he does.
Iceman wakes Beast up, and Beast goes rushing back into battle. Jean has Iceman make several ice sculptures to look like guys, and she uses her telekinesis to animate them and makes them attack Blastaar. Blastaar blasts them, and they melt all over him, causing some kind of electric feedback, and he dissipates or something. Jean is upset that she killed someone, and Scott comforts her. The end. That's the whole issue!
That's it.
That's the whole issue! Beginning to end, that's it. That's the whole thing.
Why? I can't believe they filled a full issue with this. Here's my thing, Matt.
Okay.
I understand opening in the middle of the action. I think it's a very fun technique to use. You can't use it all the time, but you throw it in there once in a while. Just let us figure things out as we read along. Mm-hmm. What I'm not okay with is opening mid-sentence. This comic opens with Blastaar saying, "For I am Blastaar."
This comic is brave enough.
Sure, they're taking a risk.
Mm-hmm. Well, Arnold Drake was there watching Blastaar monologue. And then at the moment he was like, oh, he's about to say his name, and then start recording. Thankfully, Blastaar had 2 pages worth of monologue left to go.
Well, here's my thing.
Yeah.
That's a very funny joke, Matt, about the recording thing. But I'm being very serious.
Thank you. Email in if you agree that it's a very funny joke.
I need the
validation.
He goes on for another 2 pages of monologue. They couldn't start that a half sentence earlier.
What the fuck was this whole issue?
I know.
Another Fantastic Four villain. It has nothing to do with anything X-Men related.
He's in the negative zone. How did they get him out of the negative zone? Just by fiddling around? What was Professor X doing?
Yeah.
But also, just if we're thinking within the world, Jean shouldn't be fiddling with those machines if she doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's probably true.
That was fair. And somebody told her, too, and she was like, well,
I have a theory that that's not Jean because it doesn't look like Jean, and none of the characters look like themselves at all.
Ooh, this is getting crazy.
I know. I
think Earth 2 X-Men.
Yeah. Can you believe that this is what Arnold Drake went out on?
I know. Maybe he was bitter. Maybe he did this, the Polaris story. He was very happy with it, but they were like, look, comics just aren't selling, kid. You're out. You're off of X-Men. You get one more. And he's like, all right, well, I'm going to put fucking Blastaar in it.
This more than any issue of comics I've read so far feels like a kid playing with action figures.
Yes. And not good ones.
No. It's just guys hitting each other and flying through walls and getting beat up. And then even the stuff they're saying to each other. There's one point where this is, I guess, would be funny if Beast didn't always talk about the fact that he uses big words. It's kind of funny, the idea that it's like, Bobby makes fun of him for using big words at one point, and Beast is confused. Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Which big is kind words. Would have been kind of a funny joke in any other context. Maybe it is a funny joke, and I'm just mad at this issue. Because the Beast is like, what? I'm just using words. What are you talking about? But then later, Iceman tells Jean that it was a mistake to let women vote.
Yeah, because she's saying that she made a decision. She's like, I made the call on this one. And Bobby was like, oh boy, ever since women could vote.
It sucks. It's so bad.
There is, correct credit to Barry Smith. He draws all their faces real weird, but he does make some of this action look brutal.
Right.
Hank gets like shot in the gut, and it's very with some sort of blast ray, and it's some sort of like I don't know. He looks like he's in terrible pain. Warren is thrown through a fucking wall. Like they just grab his Blastaar, just grabs his head and smashes it while he talks about how much he wants to kill the X-Men.
Oh, okay. And I was wrong. This is where Iceman's like, he's battered, but nothing some Band-Aids and aspirin can't cure.
What? Yes. Yeah. He just went through a wall.
This is Arnold Drake must hate Angel. Because he's just constantly beating the fuck out of him and then having everyone else say, he's fine. He's walk it off.
Do it to him again. Okay. Here's the thing I really have to deal with. Jean saves the day, right? Gets rid of Blastaar, but isn't sure what happened to him. It's in my head, he just gets zapped back to the negative zone the same way he was brought in. But in her head, she just killed a man. She is ridden with guilt. Scott comforts her and is sort of, I mean, he's been in this situation, and the advice he got was, it's okay that you killed someone. So he kind of gives out the same advice to her, comforts her a little bit. But Iceman says, look at it this way, Jean. It's just one life.
What a psychopath.
Jesus Christ, man.
This is the worst universe of Bobby Drake. That could, like, bad. There's another... The weirdest line in this whole thing is where they're worried about Jean using the machine, and she said, don't worry, this isn't Girl Martyr Month.
That's not a real thing, right?
Oh, don't worry, Pat. I Googled it, and Google AI says there isn't a specific Girl Martyr Month recognized universally. But it does tell us about many Catholic feast days about female martyrs.
Well, yeah, we can celebrate women that were martyrs, but there's no specific month of the year for women to martyr themselves.
When's Men's Martyr Month? Am I right? All right. First they had...
I want to kill myself.
First they had Women's History Month, and now they have Girl Martyr Month. What's next? Okay.
Let's get off of this issue.
Let's
Enough.
That issue was so bad. All right. Overall, what are your overall feelings on this, on Arnold Drake's time on the X-Men?
Honestly, I feel like this is a overall, this is a level up for the X-Men. A lot more creativity in the layouts, in the backgrounds, in the angles they're taking. Not when Barry Windsor-Smith comes in, he draws a bunch of supercomputers in the background of everything. But everybody else is doing things we haven't seen in X-Men to this point. The writing also starts to develop that sort of poetic patter that Stan Lee originally used, but it's got much more grounded dialogue. It feels a lot more modern. The action is also good, and then the attention to detail. There's a few things like the reaction thoughts we talked about. There's the reaction where Bobby is saving Lorna and she's just like, oh, you seem familiar. And there's just a shot of him looking at her and longing for her. And just without it being written out, he's clearly just deciding, should I tell her? Should I not tell her?
Yeah.
The point where Jean gets like injured by the machine that she's fiddling with, they have to make the decision whether they should go after the machine and make sure that that everything's taken care of, or if they should go help Jean. Like they start prioritizing that stuff. It's really just they're living in the world around them right now. I think it's really cool.
I mean, it's interesting. Like this is this hint of X-Men to come, right? This very high octane, like big action, big personalities, interesting layouts, and it's just the X-Men are good for 4 issues here in the middle. I mean, the Computo issue sucked. The Blastaar issue sucked.
Yes.
The 4 issues in the middle were great. Well,
Prime.
3 of them were incredible. 1 of them was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of them were a little strange.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to miss Arnold. Well, I would. But I think we are about to get some really, really fascinating stuff in the next episode of this podcast. So these were good. This was about the best the X-Men's ever been. Can it get better? I don't know. We'll find out soon.
A couple of things I want to talk about. One of them being Pat's Deals and Steals.
Wait, before you get to Pat's Deals and Steals,
wait.
I do want to tell everybody we've been keeping a little secret this whole episode.
Oh?
We've been keeping a little secret. We haven't been telling you everything.
We haven't been entirely honest?
We haven't been we've been holding a little bit something back for ourselves. In the background of all these, all these issues, there's like Beast. There's Beast backups.
Yeah. Classic Beast, or classic origin story, this time for Beast, which, we already saw. He explained it all to Master Molds.
But don't worry, he's gonna explain it again, and it's gonna be different. We're not gonna cover that here because we had 6 issues of Arnold Drake to cover.
We'll talk about it.
Keep your eyes on this space, and
right.
we'll get to it. We'll get to it very soon.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
If you hadn't interrupted me, I was going to say we're not going to get to Pat's Deals and Steals just yet, because I do want to talk about this is a fairly significant moment in history. Stan's Soapbox, the column that Stan Lee inserts into... He writes them once a month, and they just copy him into every issue of Marvel in this era. This is the first time that they have taken the opportunity to, instead of preview what Marvel comics are coming up, talk about politics a little bit. And as the months go on, there's a series of 3 here from issue 48, 49, and 50. You can see that the world is changing a little bit. The landscape is changing a little bit. And Stan Lee is clearly fielding some replies that have put him on a soapbox. You're going to get so sick of my Stan Lee impression. From issue number 48.
Okay.
This month, we're going to yak about something that has nothing to do with our mags. Over the years, we've received a zillion letters asking for the bullpen's opinion about such diverse subjects as Vietnam, civil rights, the war on poverty, and the upcoming election. We phantasmagorically flattered that our opinion would matter to you, but here's the hang-up. There isn't any unanimous bullpen opinion about anything, except possible mother love and apple pie. Take the election, for example. Some of us are staunch Democrats and others dyed-in-the-wool Republicans. As for yours truly and a few others, we prefer to judge the person rather than the party line. That's why we seek to avoid editorializing about controversial issues, not because we have in our opinions, but rather because we share the same diversity of opinions as Americans everywhere. But we'd like to go on record about one vital issue. We believe that man has a divine destiny and an awesome responsibility, the responsibility of treating all who share this wondrous world of ours with tolerance and respect, judging each fellow human on his own merit, regardless of race, creed, or color. That we agree on, and we'll never rest until it becomes a fact rather than just a cherished dream. Excelsior, Smiley. So that's the first one.
Okay.
Mild, a little toothless.
Yeah.
But definitely saying, like, hey, if there's one thing that we are, it's not racist.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Matt, you want to take this next one from issue 49?
All right. Remember last dish when we told you we'd shy away from editorializing? Well, no sooner did we go to the press than a flood of new letters arrived concerning the great soapbox controversy, and the vast majority went like this. Dear Stan, in your recent Soapbox column, you asked if Marveldom Assembled wanted you to editorialize more. I vote yes. What has separated Marvel from other mags is that you have a definite, profound philosophy to express, and the way you express it is beautiful. Marvelism is fast becoming a philosophical movement. A prime example of this can be found in the Silver Surfer, one of the most moralistic characters ever created. Marvel Comics are the voice of a new breed of intellectual. Therefore, editorializing is virtually a necessity. Achille Di Debaco, which, I've done some research. So that sinks it. From now on, whenever we have something to get off our collective chest, we'll assume we have a magniloquent mandate to suck it to you and let the chips fall where they may. Excelsior, Smiley.
Magniloquent is a new one. He's finally beat me in the vocabulary game.
Achille Debaco is a Florida man who made his own school.
They print his full address here, which is interesting.
It is a private Palm Beach County school for grades 6 through 12. He's dead. He died in 2017. Achille Debaco also became the name of one of the Animen, one of Count Nefaria's Animen in Daredevil 157.
So interesting.
Named after this guy.
What an honor.
What an honor. Caused him to make a school.
So, issue 49, the very next month, Stan saying, like, hey, we got a lot of response from me saying, we're not racists. A lot of people said, that's fine. We like what you do. So I think this is him saying, like, hey, if you're one of the people that wrote in and said, you should be racist, more people wrote in and said, you're doing fine not being racist.
Yeah.
Sure, you got a few more letters because there is one more. Okay. Issue number 50. Let's lay it right on the line. Bigotry and racism are among the deadliest social ills plaguing the world today. But unlike a team of costumed supervillains, they can't be halted with a punch in the snoot or a zap from a ray gun. The only way to destroy them is to expose them, to reveal them for the insidious evils they really are. The bigot is an unreasoning hater, one who hates blindly, fanatically, indiscriminately. If his hang-up is black men, he hates all black men. If a redhead once offended him, he hates all redheads. If some foreigner beat him to a job, he's down on all foreigners. He hates people who've never seen, people he's never known, with equal intensity, with equal venom. Now, we're not trying to say it's unreasonable for one human being to bug another, but although anyone has the right to dislike another individual, it's totally irrational, patently insane to condemn an entire race, to despise an entire nation, to vilify an entire religion. Sooner or later, we must learn to judge each other on our own merits. Sooner or later, if man is to ever be worthy of his destiny, we must fill our hearts with tolerance. For then, only then, will we be truly worthy of the concept that man was created in the image of God, a God who calls us all his children. Whoa. Pax et Justitia, Stan.
Jeez. Okay. Well, that took a weird turn at the end.
It gets a little weird at the end there. But
Stan, hey, he was doing his best at the time.
He sure was. There is a lot of historical context around these three columns. So the last one we know is a very was like it's gone viral every time racial justice has come up in the news, right? There's this thing saying like, hey, even Stan Lee in the 60s was smart enough to know that racism is wrong. The first two leading up to it were new to me, just seeing that this opinion developed over time, and then recognizing that this was these were all published in the summer of 1968. April 4th, 1968 was the assassination of Martin Luther King. The assassination of Martin Luther King like really woke up a nation. Like that is where is obviously we didn't fix racism, but that's the moment where a lot of people were like, oh, geez, this is the point that racism leads to. It is why racism is generally accepted as bad. Like, it's...
Right. Like, this was clearly a universally good man, and he was killed because he was black.
Yeah, I think the majority of the country was like, oh, well, he didn't deserve that, and drew that conclusion that this is the ultimate price of racism is, like, yeah, it kind of woke a lot of people up and changed the way that we look at racism in this country for better. Anyway, what a moment in history. Reflected through Marvel Comics.
A very interesting thing.
Enough with the racial justice, though. Can we talk about Pat's steals and deals?
Yes.
This is, you don't have to have one or the other. Here is what I've got this time. This is very common in comics. You'll see one company take out like a half-page ad and say, hey, here is a ton of stuff we offer, a little cheap toy company. This one is from Honor House Products the Honor House Product Corporation, which was just a mostly imported goods from China.
Okay.
They sold like X-ray specs. They sold marked decks of cards or like the hand buzzers, stuff like that. They have one in here that I found really interesting. Only 50 cents. Surprise package. Are you willing to take a chance? We won't tell you what you get, but because you're willing to gamble, we'll give you more than your money's worth. That's it. If you send them 50 cents, they will send you a surprise package, which I can only assume is their overstock.
Wow.
And it seems like they're obligated to offer something that is technically worth more than 50 cents.
Interesting.
Yeah, gets a little weirder. So Edwin Wegman founded Honor House in 1951. He had an uncle that dabbled in mail order before him. He opened this company. It lasted until the mid-'80s. A lot of these small toy companies died out because of the rise of postage, the rise of the price of comic books. Like, people just weren't getting these ads as much. He then went on to start a pharmaceutical company. It's called Biospecifics. It still operates out of the same building as that toy company did. They are responsible for a lot of work with collagen, injectable collagen for medical purposes. Peyronie's disease.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff you don't want to talk about. This is a mystery package that you can get from what eventually became a pharmaceutical company that can straighten your penis.
Here's another interesting thing about Edwin Wegman. He had a very acrimonious divorce in December of 1986. The opinion in which has been cited almost 100 times in various other court cases.
Oh no.
So he had a very important divorce case in 1986.
What a history lesson to close out the episode today, Matt.
We've had some really interesting, brushes with history in this. So thank you to Krills Wilson for our intro and outro music. Thanks to Julia Selly for the voice of Trish Tilby. You guys can email us, which we've already said several times during this episode, but do it anyway. mutantmenacepod@gmail.com. Leave us reviews and ratings fucking everywhere. Follow us on Instagram. Share us with your friends. Tell one person you know who likes X-Men about it. Yeah, subscribe, like, share, comment on YouTube. Pat, there's one thing left to do, and that is what we say at the end of every single episode. What can you hide in a sandpit besides a couple of kids and a beach ball?
And remember, evil is as recurrent as the cataclysmic upheavals of nature that convulse our planet from time to time. Good night.